Hi guys, James here on day 33. 33! Like I said, sometimes I can maths like a very brilliant math machine thing, and other times it's like, where's the calculator for 9 multiplied by 3? See, my brain just said 27. Like, okay. um, yeah. So, I thought today I'd share about how you have like different people with CFS or other chronic fatigue syndrome. So people with chronic fatigue syndrome or fibromyalgia syndrome or other chronic illnesses, and what they'll do is like, you have the people who are like, oh, woe is me, life is hard, life is hardest for me, woe, woe, woe. And then you'll have people who are like, oh, I'm not as bad as this other person, and then you have the people who just get on with it. Um, I I it's not that I'd put myself in the category of I'm not as bad as other people. It's I just understand that there's different strengths we develop. So my family might say to me, James, I don't understand. I can't imagine having a headache all the time, or I can't imagine being in pain all the time, or tired all the time, or sick all the time, or rah 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 rah. And like I can't imagine not. Like I just you don't have that. What's that feel like? Like it's a constant uh, in my background. So it's what you get used to. I know that I experience stuff that would make most normal people useless. They get a cold and they're like put out. Like it's just a cold, but it's kind of wrong with me just to say it's just a cold. It's like if that person's not used to colds, then they're going to feel it on a level that's uh, much more impactful than say me. Whereas like if I get really sick, I know that my kind of bad day or really sick is some people's just worst day, and I know that my worst day is people feel like they should be in hospital, so just from observation. But it's kind of what you get used to. So on the way back home tonight, I was on the tram, and I had a girl behind me, and you don't know if people are how they're healthy or not, but I just assume everyone who's not me is normal, health wise. Okay. Anyway, so the girl behind me, and then the gentleman sitting opposite me was in a wheelchair, and I live with a chronic illness 24/7. So the girl behind me, who we're just going to take it as a thing that she's normal and healthy, she was in this on the phone. She was talking to a friend, and she was talking about an awful relationship. It was abusive, and I'm not talking physically abusive, just emotionally. It was very abusive. Kind of the one that you want to like give the person a hug and say remove the contact, don't ever see them again. Uh, it was awful, and that's a normal person dealing with that. I wouldn't want to deal with that. Um, and then you've got the person who's sitting opposite me, ahead of me, in a wheelchair, and they don't have control of their legs. That terrifies me. So, yeah, some days I can't get out of bed, or some days I can't walk properly, or some days I'll be walking and my legs just give out, and some days I can't do a squat, and rah 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 rah. Um, sorry. So, so yeah, I don't have a easy, but the idea of being in a wheelchair just absolutely terrifies me. I've still got my legs, I can still use them. So I couldn't deal with his normal. I perceived that I couldn't deal with his normal. And the girl behind me, I don't perceive that I could let myself be in that kind of relationship. So it's what you get used to. Some things like the relationship you can move yourself out of. Some things like the wheelchair you cannot. You can't will yourself better. And that's his normal that he has to deal with, and I cannot perceive that I would be able to deal with that. But at the same time, I'm not saying he's necessarily worse off than me. I might consider he's worse off than me because I get to use my legs and my arms and my hands. Like they're an integral part of me keeping myself sane. But at the same time, I have a chronic illness. I have stuff to deal with. So it's not, it gets that whole kind of like, oh, you know, I've got CFS, but there's other people out there worse than me. Like, you can acknowledge that you couldn't handle other people's, or you perceive that you can't handle other people's issues they have to deal with. But that kind of competition, not competition, where this person's worse or not worse than me, and this person's not worse than me, then I should just kind of like be happier for the state I'm in. Like, no, you don't be grateful that the state you're in is the state you're in. You accept the state that you're in so you can move forward, but you don't be grateful. You can be grateful for the things you can do. You can be grateful for the fact that you can do anything or something, that you're alive. You don't be grateful for being sick. And you don't be grateful for that kind of level of sickness. You accept it and then move out of it. But yeah, it's just that when you comparison, and the people who are like, woe is me, I got so little time for them. I was like, I can't even, like, too old for that stuff, and I was too old for that stuff when I was a teenager. But they're not the people that I'm saying is just getting it off their chest. It is good to get things off your chest, and that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the, woe is me, and my life's so hard, and you wouldn't understand about it, and everything's a challenge, and life sucks, and life is an enemy, and life is like, hey, I got tired just listening to how much energy you expanded on that. Why don't you put that energy to something else? Like, that is taking up energy. Do you understand that what you're doing, the woe is me, is taking up energy? You are putting your spare energy into woe is me. How about shifting it? Yeah. But that is a really hard mindset to get out of. You have to identify it, or you have to acknowledge it first, and then you have to want to get out of it, and it's hard work. It's really hard work. I understand why people don't want to improve themselves, because improving yourself is hard work. So if you have a chronic illness, don't fall into the trap of like, oh, they've got it worse than me. Be grateful that you can be grateful that you don't have to deal with that thing, but that's the thing that they're used to, and you're used to the thing that you're used to. Don't be grateful that you've only got CFS. Like, well, gratitude, you don't need the gratitude for that. You just need acceptance. You've got CFS, deal with it. Move forward. Don't be grateful that you've got CFS instead of pet rock dies every Tuesday disease. That kind of thing. That one's a little bit for you, Liz. So try not to make it a comparison thing. If you've got CFS, chronic fatigue syndrome, or fibromyalgia syndrome, or any sort of chronic illness, you've got something. Okay, it's not a competition. You've got something noticeable. All right. And if you're the woe is me kind of person, if no one's told you this, stop it. Stop it. Stop it. You're going to complain right now. If you're watching this, you're about to complain. Stop it. Okay? Or stop watching my videos, because I'm just going to keep saying it. Thank you very much for letting me share this with you. Feel free to ask any questions. I get questions in random places like emails and text messages and Facebook, not through YouTube. So that's interesting. And if there's anything you want to know, if you'd like to introduce yourself, please feel free to. And thank you very much for letting me share with you today. I don't know what I'd title today, but thank you very much for letting me share it with you. And feel free to like, share, subscribe, notification button. Thanks, guys.